right. Hey everyone, it's David at Valley and Beyond, and it's Monday morning. We're starting our live broadcast on Facebook, and love it if you tune in and share and ask questions. And so I'm here with Adrian Bolli, and Adrian and I go back, I'm going to say 8 or 10 years.
Yeah, that's the number I'm thinking as well.
8 or 10 years that we've known each other, and we've been, for a long time, we've been around in the same community. And although Adrian's, I think, way more in the kind of the community, like the Shambhala community and the Free Spirit community and the festival community, than I've ever been. So I think that he has more personal contact with lots of really cool people. Oh, I know what I want to do. Often when we have these moments, I like to light a candle, and just to to kind of I don't know, signify the let's call it spirit, or just I guess spirit. What would you call it?
Harmony.
Harmony. Okay. All right.
Warmth.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe.
Hopefully that stays lit. Come on, baby. There it is. So I'm really tickled that Adrian's here today, and he's been a hero of mine for for 8 or 10 years, like I said, and I've watched him in business. And a lot of my heroes are entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs who have care about community, and entrepreneurs who have in their context caring about folks and looking after people. And I've watched Adrian do that for years, and we've had some of the same teachers over the years. I've been a big fan, and still a big fan of Dr. David Hawkins, and Adrian has also been a fan of Hawkins and a student. Did you ever get to see him?
No, I didn't. He passed away before I was able to go to Sedona. So I never was in his presence, but
I feel like I think of Doc Hawkins as my friend, and I never met him.
Yeah, he was in my dreams very realistically a couple of times, and I felt like I had met him that way. It was really interesting to have that.
Yeah.
Since he's passed, I've not had such a, I read all his books, and I did a lot of mental learning.
Yes.
Through his work, and it really, wow, it was such an amazing thing to read those words and go like, oh, I've intuited this before, and I've felt this before, and also opened my mind to a lot of different aspects that I had not considered up to that point. And then that sort of very logical path with the calibration and so on, that sort of became also less interesting to me at some point. Also, I'm still part of calibration group, and people are discussing these calibrations, and I'm just like, well, I don't know. It seems to be like a lot of numbers and a lot of different views as to which one is the right one, and so on. So I've never been one to calibrate myself. So it's more the conceptual idea of the whole sort of the structure of energy fields and what they attract and so on. That to me has been very significant.
When I explain it to people who never read Hawkins, and I have his books in my library and stuff, and I say, well, he built this scale, and from 0 to 1,000, thousands kind of Christ consciousness, and we won't have to worry about that. And in a way, that's my humor,
right?
And 200's kind of into the realm of courage, and below 200, where many of us have lived, or I can identify with all of the stages of below 2. I can identify with everything up to a certain level, and I aspire, for me, to 540, which is my
unconditional love.
Yes, and so I love his scale because it's really good. My mind kind of enjoys it.
Yes, the mind really enjoys it, and I think I have the scale in my house, and sometimes when I talk to people, I point to it and what I really like about it. And he was very clear about it. He's like, there's two sort of very challenging levels. The one is to come to this, like come into courage. So come out of fear, come out of desire, anger, pride. Pride is sort of the blocker that blocks the courage, and then one kind of spirals back down into sort of the lower fields of self-pity and victimhood and all this. And then to find the courage, it's like a real breakthrough, and people feel very, it's really an amazing feeling to face one's fear. No, like we all kind of know it. We've done it in different, aspects of, like, be that an inner fear or more an outer fear, like doing some kind of an action, maybe bungee jumping or public speaking. Yes, to actually break through that fear, and then coming into acceptance and into tolerance and all these different higher, sort of already higher energies. And then the next level being love, where things change from a very rational mind to just kind of something that now the rational mind can't quite get its calling anymore. It goes into a new thing, that the words start to get more difficult, the concepts start to get more difficult.
So, I mean, one of the things I liked about it is that I always felt that your businesses vibrated at a higher level, and that was my opinion. I've always watched what you've done and the stuff that you brought in, and sometimes you and I've met in Asia, or at least we've met in Bali. And so I think that that your core of your business is about helping people.
It is about that, but I mean, it was not something that I thought of it being that. It was more, I think, for my business, my business was kind of my freedom. I was a physiotherapist, and I wasn't looking forward to a life of going to a 9-to-5 job. And then when I started Bolli Imports, it was an opportunity to step outside of that, and I did not know anything about retail, so I just bought stuff overseas or South America, and then I sold it to people. Thank you. I sold it to people, and I was so grateful that they would support me.
Yes.
And so gratitude is actually really strong, strong energy, and so every year I was like, I don't know if they'll show up next year, because I'd never done retail, so I didn't know that. I didn't even know why they would come back. It's like they already bought their stuff. Why would they come back? And then next year they come back more. And I was like, so I always had and bring people. And I was like, oh my God, you guys, I'm so grateful for you guys to make this happen. And so I've always seen our customers as part of our business, as part of the team. So when I do interviews now, I ask candidates, who do you consider part of the team? And just to say, hey, our customer is part of the team too. But with that, in my business anyways, the customer also bears some of the responsibility, meaning, I don't subscribe to the concept of customer is king or anything like that. It's more like if you're respectful and nice and caring and so on, then you will be treated equally. But if you become like really nasty, then you will have to face the consequences, even if you're a customer, So I'll call you out and like, come on, you can't treat us like that or my staff like this. So I don't, I don't say my staff just duck. There's no stand up. Like, if they have been, but we don't really meet those customers. Interestingly enough, that's the cool thing, So, but there's like this abuse mentalities, especially I talk sometimes to people at Shaw, when I bring back a modem or some, and say, you guys take a lot of crap, don't you? And they're like, oh, do we ever, That's like, wow, I that would be tough, to be at the receiving end of people's dissatisfaction. Where we're blessed, I think you also find the same. It's like we're in such a blessed business. It's like people love what we bring in, and we have this conversation.
I'm always surprised when people say they're like fans of my business. Like they really care about it. Or they're like, wow, we're so glad that you're still here and that you have this store. And like, okay.
It's lovely to have that loyalty. Thank for sure.
So you started. You trained as a physiotherapist.
Yeah.
And when we talked a little bit the other day about meditation. Was there a time in your life when you were a regular meditator?
Not really. I was interested in meditation because I got really sick with an autoimmune disease, and so I was really I was determined to heal myself, so to say, which then I found to be a fairly interesting challenge, because that's not really the sort of things that I was finding. I was searching the internet of people who had done the same thing and so on, and it was very bleak. And so I was inspired to, just like I figured, well, if I wasn't someone to say, oh, I changed my nutrition, I'll be well, It was like I tried it and took out gluten and didn't help anything. Things like this. So I was like, oh, this doesn't seem to be making the difference. So then I have to maybe look as to what the inner causes are of this disease. Maybe more Louis Hay type stuff.
Yes,
but
yes.
Although I was not good at the affirmations either. I never could do affirmations. But everyone has their own sort of path. So for me, that wasn't it, but still in that sort of inner searching, inner looking, and so on. And David Hawkins' work helped me a lot. The book Letting Go. Yeah. So that also helped me to overcome public speaking fears. For example, just sitting. And I've done workshops around this material of just allowing an emotion and sitting in that emotion and feel it, allowing yourself to feel it. And so I still do that. So that's in a way also a meditation. Even if you do something like a Vipassana meditation,
which you've done,
which I have done, it's again.
You call it Vipassana, and I call it Vipassana.
Vipassana. Oh, Vipassana. It's probably the way to say it. Vipassana. Yeah, it's Vipassana, isn't it? Vipassana.
I thought, wow, he knows it's Vipassana. Okay. And I've been playing with it in my mind, Vipassana.
Yeah, I learn language more visually.
Well, and I think you're courageous to go and sit for 10 days.
Interestingly, from what I had heard, it seemed like something that one should be wary of. For me, it was more finding 10 days in a row that I could just tune out of the world.
Yes.
And there was some fear around it for sure. Yeah. Particularly around bodily discomfort, sitting so long. I loved the 10-day meditation.
Where did you go?
I went to Merit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I've heard lots about that center.
It's really beautiful. Yeah. I really liked it. And it was just nice to actually have the 10 days and turn off the cell phone, not even have it disappear. Yeah. And then some people say, so for some people it's really rough because their mind won't let off, like it goes into full power mode and molests them really harshly the whole time.
So a lot of times, because as you know, helping people create meditation spaces, and for well over a year, I've been asking people, so do you meditate? And tell me about your meditation. And I find that for the most part, that folks don't realize that their mind is not them,
right?
Or that it's a tool, or that it's actually in service to us, and that the way it's been conditioned often is to look for peril, or look for things that are out of place, or things that might go wrong. And so I think what I share with people often is that, well, your mind actually is a tool. It's like your hands, right. And a little more complex, but
right.
And so then they're like, oh, because the separation of us from our mind, like when I do meditate, and I've been meditating every day lately.
Cool.
And I'm going to tell a story about Adrian.
Inevitably.
And when I meditate, I recognize that my mind does what it does, and I'm watching it, and it's really, really easy for me to see now that there's another being watching the mind, and we could call him David, but I don't know why we would, but it's part of me as well in some way, and then also there's somebody watching somebody who's watching the mind, and I can see that, and that's kind of exciting. And I suspect there's more than that.
I think it's sort of, that's, you come to that now, and you give your energy more to that, or your focus more to that, and then whatever comes the next will surely show up. in its due time and so on. And, so yeah, I've have the same experience. Some people, they're very much identified with the mind. So if the mind says something about them, it's believed immediately to be
Must
the
be true.
truth. Yeah, it must be true because it's my mind, and that what else would I be other than that?
And then they call it the truth.
Right,
And that's
and
where
it's
you
like,
come in.
It's like, it's like that's my truth. It's like, well, that is a truth, yes, and so on. And what does that, you know? I think the mind itself can say many things. No, it's actually the bigger question seems to be like, do I believe it? You know, do I subscribe to this thought?
Yeah.
Because there will be many emotions and many thoughts, and then the next thing is, well, what do I make of that? Do I believe that to be true, or can I observe that and I see that it also will pass, and maybe I don't even hold that belief or thought anymore about that. And that's why, you know, I have had teachers refer to the, you know, when we put the word "my" in before something, it takes on a whole different meaning for it, even though outside of us it's still the same thing. So it's like, you know, if a car out there got hit by another car, I wouldn't have very strong emotions about them. Like, I hope their driver's safe, okay, they're healthy, they didn't. And it's like, okay, this is forgotten, but if my car is hit, it takes on a whole, you
Holy
know,
shit.
It's like, I could fester about this for weeks and weeks. And
what did I do? How did I bring that on? Did I create that, or does that just happen? Is that a random act?
Yes, yes. And so that then leads to tremendous amount
Could
of
be my thinking.
disturbance and suffering, where you know.
A lot of my work with people is the foundation. A lot of us have come from a foundation of victim, and so that victim foundation is in the thought process of the mind. We're always, you know, we can find ourselves looking for, you know, where we've been done wrong, you know, in some way, and letting go of that foundational piece.
And I mean, of course, we've been done wrong, and we have done wrong, and I think and so we're truly all have been a victim, and we know what the victim feeling, and to come, it's not. That's not really the question. It's more so now what? You know, if I stay in that mind space, it will have a certain bearing on my life. And if I see it differently.
But don't you think you can shift context? Like, totally and absolutely foundationally, so, you know, at a deep psychic level, shift context from victim to, say, servant, to giving, to being to
you mean
love.
the overall mindset?
Yes. Like, I mean, somewhere often in our youth, you know, when Mom put me on the toilet backwards, and you know, I figured it out. I must be something wrong with me.
Right.
And I'm always going to be, you know, getting the shitty end of the stick.
Yeah, I think definitely there's like this victim mindset.
Yeah.
And I've actually just recently thought of like, so how does one get out of that? And I think, again, that's kind of like the inner searching too, and even seeing that and maybe saying, oh wow, I can see that I'm stuck in that somehow, like that all the strings come back to me feeling like that at the end, rather than when I see in someone else those strings come to something else. To them it's more like, oh, that's an interesting opportunity for growth, for example. That would be a different set of strings, or deeper looking.
So the idea that life is for me as opposed to life is against me.
Yes.
And how can I serve? You know, I know that in my 12-step world, everything's leading towards service.
Right.
And how can we make a difference, and how can we help the next person who's stuck in that mode, in that idea of poor me, and you know, because pour me another drink.
Right. Oh, I see. Right. Oh, right.
So
pour me another drink. Yeah.
And so it does shift. You know, and when we watch it, it goes from, you know, people coming in totally defeated, and you know, sometimes it takes a couple of years, and they're like living a life of total service. You know, not necessarily a monastic life, but
Right.
in the field, on the street, but making a difference that way. So I think that how we got here was talking about the mind, because I think my mind, for the most part, many times is full of shit.
It just makes up stuff as it goes. and it's not necessarily even ours, like we talked about that a little bit.
So it can be collective.
It can be a collective or a reaffirmed message that has kept coming and we've just bought into.
Hawkins often talked about the karma, and it seems a bit beyond my level to see how things are karmic, and that that we're living out stuff from either our own past lives or.
Well, interestingly now, for those people who are more, need like more scientific type evidence and so on. I mean, they show now that trauma patterns in families do alter genes even, so that maybe the next generation feels a higher level of anxiety and so on. I made that part up. I don't remember what exactly they said that. Maybe propensity towards post-traumatic stresses or things like that, so that it's actually also genetically encoded. And we're now seeing that there's a lot of healing backwards, almost like you heal the wounds of your ancestors, kind of things,
like family constellation work.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Yeah.
Yes. So it's now they have actually some people need like physical evidence to say yes, indeed this is happening, and it's actually altering our genome as well. And so there is so much to be said about
these are kind of
cleaning up karma.
They're exciting times, aren't they? What's happening in medicine, what's happening with genetic medicine, and what's happening with consciousness. There's so much amazing information available.
It's amazing, but I think it can also be overwhelming if one is very much trying very hard via the mind to resolve it all, kind of thing, and because so much information, and then also so much contradiction is coming. As what was true 2 years ago suddenly, should I drink coffee or should I not drink coffee? All this kind of thing. It's quickly cycling, and so if one is trying to keep up, it can take you very much out there.
Cafe Beano.
Is that?
That's my Americano every morning, Cafe Beano. I'm going to drink coffee.
I love their coffee.
I know.
Yeah, they have really great coffee.
Yeah, I did 2 a day, but 2 Americanos, and that's my fix for the day. And
and you love it, so I think it's good.
I have a little guilt around the sugar.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Just
we're not going to go there.
Because guilt is good.
I'm not even Catholic.
I'll have guilt. I'll do it anyways, and then I'll have guilt.
I married 2 Catholic girls, though.
Do you? Okay.
Did,
well, maybe they.
I picked up on guilt. Catholics, we love you.
No, actually, Dr. Hawkins says about guilt, it's like the most toxic emotion to make you physically sick.
Yeah. Okay, I better let go of the sugar thing. I mean, I love sugar.
Didn't love the sugar and put it in there, and maybe do half a spoon next time. I don't know.
I have cut back. Yeah.
Without just saying because I want to not feel this guilt, and I can't just let go of the guilt. But I think
busted.
A lot of these things now. That's what I'm kind of meaning. Like, there's so many things you can do wrong right now in terms of nutrition, in terms of mental attitude, and all these things. That itself can get you anxious and stressed out to the T. Of how many things you're not doing right, and then your carbon footprint and your, all these different things. It's just a cumulative effect, and I'm not saying that they don't have their value.
No.
But I think by which attitude one meets it, and I think that's where we're then not supported, Like, we're supported to be super intense about it and then self-punishing about it, but no one really talks about that so much. It's like, how much harm is that doing to you and those around you when you keep self-punishing yourself about how wrong you're doing everything like that?
Yeah, I think that it's important that whatever our values are, that we try to live as close to them as we can. We're right out of sync with our value, then it's going to be painful.
Well, life tends to show us then.
It's going to be painful.
It's going to be painful, and the pain shows up. So, by itself, without us adding a whole
also
bunch to
we're in trouble if we're trying to live somebody else's values. And that is often. I think we're where you are really good with people is helping them to see, what is their truth, and are they living their truth? Are they trying to live society's truth, or are they trying to appear a certain way as opposed to what's really meaningful to them? And so I appreciate that, and that leads me to our little conversation. When I first started, wasn't actually when I first started. This whole idea of helping people create meditation spaces is, we've been doing it really for ever since we started Bowling Beyond. Right. We weren't kind of aware of it. It was like, oh, well, they like our pillows for meditation.
Right,
right. And people would tell me they're setting up sacred spaces. And then, a couple of years ago, as the economy in Calgary got in trouble, and I got in trouble with it, and the tide went out, and I didn't have any pants on. And, what came really clear was that we could help people create spaces in their homes, right. And so I started talking about it a lot. And this one night, Adrian calls me, like in the evening, and he says, what the hell are you doing? You don't even meditate.
That's how I interpreted it. I got to watch what I was saying.
And it, it was great, because it after a bit I realized that he really was challenging me, which was good. It was I feel that we don't often challenge people unless we care about them.
Right.
And I felt cared about, but it brought up the energy that I said, well, here, this is what's actually happening, and I see this as a mission, and I see this as, this is really, I found something that I can really connect with, or I think we can make a difference on the planet. And it was like, and I could hear him listening, and it docked, and you heard the truth, and you said, oh, okay, great. Right. Go for it.
Yeah.
But it was really like, I realized too that I've been a struggling meditator, all my life, kind of, should meditate, and I've never been really good at it, and I don't know that there's any such thing in a way as good at it, but I've never been a daily practitioner, and now I've become a daily practitioner, and I recognize that part of it's because I'm prescribing that, I'm sharing with people.
Yeah, exactly. I feel it brings into integrity.
Yeah.
What you're saying this will be, because people will come and say, well, is that going to be good for me? And it's like, well, I heard it's good for you.
Yeah.
I'm just selling you this stool.
Here's the gear.
It's like the doctor who doesn't take his own medicine.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people say, oh, the doctor tells me to lose weight, and they're like 400 pounds overweight. And it's like,
yeah,
I'm not inspired.
So the big winner so far has been
you.
Yeah. Because I'm sitting in the morning, and this morning I woke up. I woke up in such gratitude. It's
cool.
Beautiful to wake up so full. And my prayer my prayer always is to to put me in. I look at my connection with my higher power, with God, as I understand him. He's my boss. He's the employer. I just work here, and so my prayer always is, show me where I can serve. Show me how I can make a difference. Put people in front of me where I can carry the message of love and their love and God's love and my love and love and had a big day yesterday. Like
awesome.
It was amazing,
awesome.
and how many people just showed up that were, I got to be there and listen and hold the light for them, and so I woke up this morning with just such gratitude.
Yeah, it was really cool to talk to you, and after pushing you around a little bit, then really you sort of coming at me with like, look, Adrian, I don't know that I have this figured out per se. I just feel really called to do this, and I'm just jumping in 100%, and I'm gonna just live this calling and this mission, so to say, and I leave the rest up to God, basically. I feel that this is how, this vision I have, and so on. And I was like, this is really cool that that you're making your vision higher than sort of the immediate feedback or the immediate success, or you
Well,
know.
yeah, I see. Like I went to see Tony Robbins this year, and Tony, I think Tony's freaking amazing. And
Right.
and Tony said, look, strategy is nowhere near as important as state of mind. And for me,
Right.
state of mind is, getting out of the road, saying,
Right. Yes.
recognizing that I don't know the how to, and if I'm running the show, this is. We'll be lucky if we sell all 500 of these.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so
if you gave it to the David that in the past has not really, you said you stood there with your pants off and the tide went out.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that David in the future. You want to be the one to have this abundance as a result of all that you're offering. No, that you're full-heartedly, I hear you now talking about meditation stools all the time, and it's like you're in the meditation spaces, and you give everything to it, and I think if you look at any sort of success, so to say, or things that really, the people that I've followed, they've given everything to that single vision. So to say,
mission,
and
vision,
there must
idea,
be power in that,
Yes.
and so that power then must also come to play here,
Yeah.
as you're purifying that also, and as you're clarifying that, because of course you're in a very high vibrating field. So to say, when you're saying, "Oh, I will help you to make a meditation space," then it's like, okay, so it already will likely be imbued with some energy in that direction, no? And some if peace does not exude from you, if you're like, oh, and I don't know where to put the chair, it's like, well, when do you meditate? Just when you sit down, or are you also meditating? Are you also in sort of a calmness when we're doing this? So I think to bring that all kind of nicely in line, I think, and then speaking really from your own experience, rather than, I read that, it's like, but my experience is actually this. And you did share your experience with me, actually. You said, I haven't meditated so much. I've been a fledgling meditator, so to say. It's like, fine. But at least what I've always liked about you, David, is like you just own your stuff, just like, that's just how that is, It's like you're not here to paint like this picture of yourself.
Yeah, I'm a student.
Yeah, I'm a student, and I'm da-da-da.
Yeah.
But I think that is just a wonderful position to be in.
Yeah.
Well, and acknowledge and know the truth of it.
So you were really helpful that night.
I'm glad to hear that, because I hope so, because I again, I'm not, it may come across like I'm really giving you shit, but I'm just kind of poking, I'm poking, and I don't know, in those moments I don't really know, like I'm not doing it, like I'm not planning that. It just comes. It's just like we're talking right now.
Yeah.
It just evolves, and then it's like, whoa, Adrian, like it's almost like, I don't know, I'm smelling something, and I'm following that smell.
Yeah.
And I'm poking to see if there's like a canker sore behind that or something like that.
And I'm grateful that you felt safe to do that, with me.
For sure, and I think that's, having had interaction with you before, and trusting that, trusting.
So it was great, and I do lose sight of this sometimes. I mean, it's not. Earl's here, and he tries to keep me on track, because sometimes the bills have to be paid, and and all the thing isn't working the way I thought it would. It's going another way. I have no idea how it's going to unfold, and I'm really confident that it is. That people need and want to have like sacred spaces in their homes. So what it'll look like, remains to be seen.
The path will show itself,
yes,
for sure.
Of course.
Is going to.
And I see that with, these will be in thousands and thousands and thousands of homes. And I read a book years ago, if you can count to 4, you can have anything or be anything or do anything you want. And it was by a fellow by the name of Jim Jones, a long time, not that Jim Jones, another Jim Jones.
Right.
And basically the big thing was that the how-to didn't matter, and just have your vision, hold your vision, act as though, believe in your vision, and let the how-to unfold. And so there are many powers in the universe, and we can call on those, God as we understand them, and and if this is in alignment.
If it's in alignment, exactly. And I think sometimes, I think you know this as much as anybody. I think, here in Calgary when we had that downturn, it was like a huge reality shift. And also for myself and my business, and for the first time I was like having to deal with whole new fears and whole new realities that I never had to deal with, and the failure was suddenly right in front of me, or potential failure. And it brought up a lot of noise and a lot of things to look at. And I think in a way, we can set out on something to something, and we think we know what it's about, but it will just show itself what it's all about. That's kind of, and the one that knows in the future what that past was about is actually in a way no longer the same as the one who thought they knew what it was going to be about.
That's right. Everything shifts.
Everything shifts. Even the one who's now
thinking.
Who's thinking. No.
Yeah.
And so, and I think being open to that, like some people are just such strong resistance to that, understandably, because especially if we have a reality that we'd like to fix and we're happy with it, we say, oh, this suits me well, and then something comes and unsettles that, and now it's kind of to be more open to that. It's going to shift, and I'm sort of more like willing to learn and being the student and really learn what I need to learn from this circumstance. One of my teachers says, both the bitter and the sweet will help you.
Who said that?
Muji says it.
Muji. We've been talking about Muji a little. Muji's love.
Yes. So he, so sometimes when you sit in the middle of the real bitter, that's also when sort of the self-pity comes, and self-beating up can come also, and just more like, okay, not like to make a sugary compound of this bitterness. No, it'll actually swallow the bitter too, and it's very humbling, no, to sit in the bitter and let go of the false notions, that, and maybe the arrogance and all this, which then can also be more seen through this lens now that's presented itself. So that, I think that really helps the growth, and it's there, and so it really, a lot of people will say it's the bitterness in their life that actually helped them take the next leap.
Yes. But
and I mean, that's also why you're doing meditation spaces now. No, it's like that tide went out, and it's like, I got to start to focus differently.
Yes.
This, I have a smaller space, and I have to talk to my customers differently.
And it's interesting. The call had been there before, but I was stuck in this idea of how things should be. I had a tile business, and it was failing. It just wasn't working, and I had to let it go. And really focus here. I let the tile, remember City Tile?
Yes, I do.
And I had this tile business that because I'd had it for 27 years, I had this idea that it was with me for life, or whatever. I was afraid to let it go because it was a cash flow thing, and even though it never made money. And
it flowed the cash, but it didn't leave any around.
And so anyway, it's surrender. Surrender doesn't come when things are going well.
Yes, isn't that true?
Surrender comes when you're sleeping in the warehouse.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
Oh, I can imagine.
I'm sleeping at the warehouse.
I often thought of you, and I was like, oh, David. I admire your perseverance and courage, and because you've given it all.
Yeah.
I feel
more gifted, though. I mean,
and to have that wonderful attitude.
Yeah.
At the end of it, that's super inspirational, because a lot of people could just be bitter and angry and resentful and go, maybe, like you said, even if their escape would be drugs or drinking, then they would just say, okay, well, re-embrace that.
Fuck you, I'll kill me.
Yeah, I'll kill me then, or kill me through depression or suicide or whatever.
6 of one, half of the other. Yes.
Yeah. And one way or another.
I see that,
It's happening
in
for
others
sure.
for
It's
sure.
happening.
And I'm blessed that, you know, I've had great teachers and you know, a lifetime of dealing with life and being in the middle of it. And you know, I've been very blessed. You know, and what an opportunity to sleep in the store.
Right. Yeah. I get to do this unique thing. I sleep in my own store.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And also, I think you and I, you know, we go to developing countries, like, and so we see that actually sleeping in your own store is actually a reality for many business people. No,
sure.
It's like,
yeah.
it's like we live in North America and we have it really cushy, you know,
Different standards.
And yet many of the things that aren't even from our own sources, but you know, these jeans which surely are made in China and so on, you know, people live totally different realities than us because of their economic situation, and so even when we have it rough, it still more approximates us closer to what actually a vast amount
most of the world is living like. Yeah.
And
I've been to factories where the factory workers are sleeping in sheds in the back.
Yes,
you know, I mean,
yes.
you've
and
seen
that's
them.
their daily life, and they can't project, say, oh, in 10 years I'll have saved enough money to free myself from this. It's like, no, this is what I'll do until old age, and then I don't have a pension after that.
No.
Hopefully my kids will have a bit of better jobs, and then they can look after me. You know? And one lady in South America, Elsa, she has been a real inspiration for me. She, not Elsa, sorry, this is Clemencia. She has been with us for the last 18 years making stuff for Bolli Imports, and I talked to her once, and in South America they're Catholics, so they have a strong Christian faith in that sense, and I asked her, I said, you're always happy, you're always smiling, you're always lit up. How is that? And what happened is that her husband cheated on her and left her, and she was worried about finances and so on, and then he came back, and she took him back and she forgave him, and now they're together again and they're strong again. And I asked her, so how do you do it? And she says, you know, somehow I feel blessed. Like I don't even know how I'm going to pay the next bill, but then money comes somehow, and you know, I'm taken care of somehow. I surrender to God and I'm taken care of.
Well, she and I are much the same.
Right. And so it was like, wow, what a way to live. And she's like, she said, oh, Adrian, when the house is finished, so she's been building this house, really big house in her small little community, and she loves it. She loves this house, and she has a workshop in it, and she can do the sewing, and so we're really happy that we've helped her build that. Actually, our customers have helped her build that by embracing the products that she has made, which is such a beautiful synergy, and they don't even know, you know, but I know, and I see the results of it, which is really awesome. And she says, when I'm done building the house, I'll come visit you in Canada. And I'm like, this is a woman from the mountains, the Andes Mountains, you know, and she's like, I want to discover this Canada where you live, you know.
Wow.
And it's so cool, you know? And so we'll see when that happens and how that happens, but yeah.
That's a really cool story, because I mean, that's the reality, isn't it?
And you see her reality, and I go, you know, a lot of people in North America would not be content with this house, which is a paradise to her. Most people in Canada would say, this is terrible, I can't live here, it's all concrete, you know, and yet for her it's like the ultimate, you know. So it really just depends on what your reference point is.
45 minutes in.
Are we 4 to 5 minutes in? We haven't even started to talk.
we could go for a while. We could. So this is great. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. And I don't, you know, often we, on our Monday morning Facebook Lives, we talk about meditation. We really talk more about life today. And although meditation is to me is a big part of life, I want, you know, to help people create that.
Of course, and I think if you do have a meditation practice and you become more mindful with it, because I was thinking, you know, even as you have like a space set up like that, even as if you're not meditating, you're still aware that that it's waiting for you. You
Yes.
know, and maybe you'll find it actually in a moment least
Yeah.
expected. You know.
That's what I think. I really do think that. I think that if people create a space, they're more likely to do it. You know, or if they're not
Absolutely.
doing it, at least they're thinking about doing it.
Right,
And it's
right.
and I think it lifts the vibration. Even you know, the idea of meditation lifts the vibration of the planet. And if I know this is lofty, but if we could have, you know, 1 million people meditating as a result of our spaces, you know, in 5 years, it literally could lift the vibration of the planet. Like, you know, we could jump to 210.
Oh, I see. Now I see the connection you're making there. So
Yeah.
you're like saying, oh, the more people, then the overall vibration, it will just have such a strong energy that'll affect the overall vibration.
And you know, as opposed to folks focusing on the problem, whatever it happens to be, lack or somebody that's not behaving, politics that isn't in their favor or whatever. If we can support people in focusing on the inner journey, and that it can make a difference in the whole planet. You know?
For sure, yeah.
And
because we do all live, you know, we're all little centers, each one of us, that have sort of the people around us, which who we affect as well. And
as we raise our vibration, everybody becomes more conscious of how they're treating each other, you know, and you know, how they're treating the planet, how, you know, basically we become more conscious in our daily lives, even if we're not the one that's meditating, because we're living in a more conscious planet. So that's the big vision of it. And so we want to. We're planning to, you know, supply information about meditation and the context and the why of meditation, and with my plan is with daily, you know,
affirmations.
Well, but daily emails and stuff, inspirational stuff that's going out, whether it's something from Deepak or the Dalai Lama or Osho or my friend Bill Wilson, you know. So that people are, you know, lifted or inspired to do this, and I think often we're driven by either desperation or inspiration.
Right.
And I've had both.
Yes.
In you know, in spades, and so we want to, as much as we can, inspire people to find themselves in a meditative.
And I think it's. Even if someone, you know, says, "Oh, I don't know how to meditate," and it's just like just sit for 5 minutes, even, and just make that a regular thing, because it will start to
well, if we sit,
expand.
I was married one time to a beautiful lady who taught me really about meditation, and Sheila started me at 3 minutes, with a clock.
Right.
It was pre-cell phone. With a clock, you know, and 3 minutes, and I would just sit and, you know, often watch the mind, and some guys sometimes get torn off, you know, after whatever the mind was.
I would not be surprised if someone sits there for 3-5 minutes, and the entire time all they do is just think about something.
Yes.
That would not be surprising. I think that would be quite natural. Now, the next step then would be being mindful not to, you know, then at least hopefully you can observe the mind that now says, oh, you did that all wrong. You're useless as meditating. You should give up. This is only for other people, and so on. No,
that's right.
Because these layers of mind, really, you can't expect your mind to be still just because you're sitting down. Actually, it'll probably be really loud. You know,
the mind lives in good, bad, right, wrong, and so it's going to judge.
It's going to be very judgmental, and the same judgmentalism that is brought to other things that we're doing right or wrong, it will be applied to meditation. But that's why I recommend Vipassana. You say Vipassana. It's what it's done for me is because I was very much in that field before, so I would go to meditation for an hour, and I'd sit there and you know, the thought is I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing, and then I just try to follow. Okay, watch your breath, and I go breath in, breath out, and my mind is somewhere off on a trip, and you know, maybe to do with the immediate environment or
it's halfway to Peru,
you know, like this. And so I was like, and then of course afterwards comes the thought of like, you're useless as at meditating and all these thoughts.
Yeah.
And then Vipassana was very much one that it's like learning how to swim by being thrown into the water.
Deep end.
Deep end, yeah. And after that I was like, I got it now. Like not as I know all about meditation,
No,
but
but
I have this living experience of what it is to become still, and seeing that the mind sometimes will just go nuts, and then sometimes it will. I just can't find any thoughts.
So
there's no
what's
thoughts.
beautiful about having been there is now you can drop into that just in a moment. Right?
Yes, and overall the mind is just less active. It doesn't have so much to say, which again, if we're particularly in love with our opinions and our thoughts, then that may be a feeling of a loss. It's like, but I love when my mind argues with absolutely everything, or develops a response to absolutely everything. Because we're very fond of how our response is formulated and how right it is. It's like, but I already know this, and all this is, and just to watch that and say, well, there is a price to be paid for that.
It's called loneliness.
Loneliness, and also a certain stuckness and a certain you're always in turmoil. Like it's, they say the goal of meditation, so to say, would be peacefulness. And it's like, well, you're not particularly at peace when you're arguing, and then it's the arguing with oneself.
Yes.
With playing out scenarios, and later, you walk away from an interaction, and you're playing it through and through and through. I should have said this, I didn't say this, and I didn't defend myself properly, or all this, or I attacked too much, or whatever, like this. So that's how kind of the mind plays, and just observing that, and then not being so attached to it creates a lot of space.
So we're going to wrap up.
Oh, are we? Okay. We'll wrap up.
I think so. One of the things I wanted to mention is that Adrian has an online store, right?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, and it's called Bolli Imports.
No, BolliBears.com.
Bolli Bears.
That's our hoods. Yeah, we do have one that's called Bolli Imports, and then that one kind of fell by the wayside because technology, and so it's BolliBears.com. It's like our hoods that we make.
Yes,
we call them the Bolli Bears.
You make those locally, don't you?
Yeah, we have manufacturing.
That's
sewing.
Super cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Tiana has been with us for years, and her creativity has gone through the roof, and she's making rave clothing now and all this stuff. So it's
nice.
It's really neat.
And you've got a pop-up store in Red Deer?
Red Deer and Edmonton right now too.
So which malls? Where?
Bauer. It's called Bauer Center in Red Deer,
yes.
And then in Edmonton it's on White Avenue.
Okay.
It's 105th Street, so it's like right sort of in the center of White Avenue, opposite of the tavern.
Wow.
And then we have our warehouse here in Calgary, which we've set up as a store too.
Yeah.
It's crowded, but it's got all
fun?
the good stuff. Yeah, it's fun. People like it. I've asked them, is this bad? And they're like, no, you've got all the essentials, and
nice.
It's totally got the feel. And then Prince George is also running. We're shutting that down at the end of the year, pretty much. But
the Prince George store,
that one, we have a big sale on there for clearance. So
nice.
Good deals are to be had up there.
Nice. So I encourage you to support, local business with manufacturing actually here, and now that you know Adrian better, follow them on Facebook, and we're going to put the links for all their stuff in this, and also drop by and see us here. We have a YouTube page, and I'd love it if you subscribe to that. And follow us on Facebook and come by the store and
pick up one of these chairs. They're really cool.
Well, yes, the meditation stool, but we also have these altars that go with it, and the whole kit, and it's an amazing gift. It really is. And
you've got a whole bunch of them set up over there. It looks nice.
Oh, the other thing, I'm just gonna say, if you made it to this far in our video, which I'm grateful, if you found it that interesting, and I never know if what we're sharing is that interesting or not, but it will be for some. Earl just set up this thing on our website about affiliate marketing. So if you know anybody that might want to affiliate market all our stuff anywhere in Western Canada, anywhere in Canada, so they can really have our store on their website, and it's pretty cool. I'm excited about it, and I see it as maybe it could be the how-to.
Yeah.
You were
sharing that.
And so
that's cool.
love you guys. Thanks so much, Adrian. Love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming by.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, what fun.
It was. Yeah, it's always good to talk to you.
And okay, cheers. We'll chat with you soon. Share this if you can, and invite your friends to watch it, and make comments and likes and all that stuff. Okay, bye bye.